Oh, we're recording. We're live. Okay. Hold on. I'm gonna pull up our fan mail that we got.
I've been getting some good feedback too. It's been fun.
Have you? Great. I love it.
Some of my small group listening.
Oh, cool. All right, we're recording. So 3, 2, 1, action. And welcome to this week's episode of the Identity Work Podcast. We are so excited and thankful and grateful that you, our listeners, have tuned in. We've got a great topic today that also feels intimidating, but I'm excited to dive in with you, Adam. The title of today's topic is You Will Never Finish Your To-Do List. But before we get into that, let's get into some listener feedback, which always warms our hearts. Thank you, listeners, for sharing your thoughts. Adam, this was a note from a friend who listened to the most recent episode. This was outstanding. You hit on some key emotional triggers, including the fear of being behind and not doing enough with AI, but also the joy that's returned to our work as we eliminate or reduce some of the low-hanging activities to focus on the more strategic initiatives. I love what you said about no longer looking for your dream job. With the possibilities that AI provides, you could almost make any job a dream job. Thanks for sending that. It was a really great and thoughtful discussion, and I benefited from hearing it.
Man, thank you.
It was good.
Yeah, that feels great. I appreciate that a lot. I got some good feedback too on the last one. I think the AI topic, and I've really appreciated hearing voices that are talking about the meaning and like the sort of changing feelings of work around AI. I think that's a topic that is underexplored, but will be something that's a really important part of the next several decades of work as like the content of work changes, how that changes the way that we feel about work. So this was sort of our first time, I think, talking more about that. And it was fun. I anticipate doing more of that.
Yeah, same. It was really, really fun. So, all right. But today, you'll never finish your to-do list. So, Adam, I always ask the catalyst. I mean, this is basically the book review for 4,000 Weeks by Oliver Burkeman, right?
Yeah, it's effectively the book review. We talked about it, I think, in the last episode, that we sort of got into it a little bit, and we promised a more thorough
full
podcast
deep dive.
episode,
Yes.
full deep dive on the book.
This is a result of Adam
go.
Lazansky recommending that you read this book, Adam, because I don't read as much as you. And we talked about it. So thank you, listeners, and specifically Adam, for recommending this. But this was another one too. When I mentioned, I got a text of like, "Oh, I love that book. Excited to hear you guys talk about it." So let's talk about it. What's his overarching thesis, if you will?
Oh man, it's kind of like the anti self-help book in a way. I think that's what I really loved about it. Is you read so many books that are trying to convince you, trying to help you figure out how to like get more done. And the basic thesis of the book is, why are you so obsessed with getting more done? That's kind of pointless, is the thesis. Sort of like the secular version of Ecclesiastes. It's like everything is vapor, so enjoy the time that you have, was the thesis of 4,000 Weeks.
Wow. And do you agree with it?
Yeah, I feel like every couple pages of this book, I had some moment where I needed to put the book down and sit with the fact that it had really just like called out some meaningful flaw in the way that I was approaching life. I think Ecclesiastes is great, but it's pretty ethereal is maybe the right word. Like it's sort of, I don't know, uses language that is hard for me to sometimes apply to my current life today. And this book uses language that really hits you in the gut. So it was a joy to read. And I feel like it's changed. I think about it every day since I've read it.
Wow. What do you,
every day.
Bring it home. Like, what are some of the tactical things that you've been thinking about after reading it?
Yeah, there's a couple big takeaways or things that I've sort of reflected on at various points of the day and various situations. I think the one that is most common, or the one that I've spent the most time thinking about, is that the to-do list is never going to get done. I think we I at least operate through this belief that one day there will be a world where there is no more to-dos. If, like I look at my list, there's 10 things on it, and I'm like, I'm going to crush these 10 things. And at the end of the day, there's going to be nothing else that I need to do. And I'll be able to ride off into the sunset in this glorious bliss of stressless freedom, that there are now no more pressing tasks waiting for me. And I say that out loud, and you're like, obviously there's going to be more tasks that come up. But I don't think we operate like that. I think we see it as some finite list that's going to be done. And then when new things come in, we're like annoyed, but sort of reinvigorated to go make this new list go away. And just accepting that is never going to happen. And in fact, like the opposite is probably true, which is that the faster you get at accomplishing tasks, the faster the tasks get added to the list. Like email is a really good example. Like if you are super fast at responding, or Slack is where I communicate, the faster I am at responding to Slack, the more Slack responses that I'm going to get, right? Is like, if I respond to 10 threads, I'm going to get 10 messages. But if I respond to 50 threads, I'm going to get 50 messages. And if I respond to 1,000 threads, I'm going to get 1,000 messages back. Like people just sort of are going to come to, I don't know, everything you put out, it will come back. So
I actually think about like email has what's the physics term? Equal and opposite reaction.
Yeah.
Or like, and because every email creates another email. And so that's why I actually like how Outlook has, and I use more, you can do the like button for emails now versus like replying. And I've started to do a lot of delay deliveries with my team too, where it's like, you probably need to be aware, but this isn't by no means urgent. And so I delay delivery, and they arrive the next morning at 8 a.m. for my team.
That's awesome.
Just, I think email is a great example because, it's intense.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. So that's been one takeaway, is this just accepting.
Acceptance. Yeah.
I look at my to-do list and I'm stressed, and I have this reminder to myself of like, it's never going to get done. So don't put so much pressure on yourself that you only got like 6 of the 10 things done, and then you added 2 more, and now you still have 8 at the end of the day. It's like, that list was going to be full at the end of this day, no matter what you did.
And quick aside, how do you keep track of your to-do list? I'm really curious.
There's probably a lot more sophisticated approaches to this. I literally just we use Notion for everything.
Really?
So I have a Notion database of my tasks, but it's pretty simple. It's literally just like the name of the task, some like a field with notes related to that task that are typically like a sentence or like a link to some page or something. And then a very high level like time frame of when I'm going to do it, which is basically like today, this week, or sometime in the future, or the 3 options. And I will like, at the beginning of the week, pull things. At the end of the week, I put everything back in the like sometime in the future group, generally ordered by how recently I put it there. And then at the beginning of the week, I pull in everything I think I should get done this week. And then in the morning, try to move things into the gonna do it today group.
Yeah.
But I ended this week with like 14 things in my today column, many of which have been in the today column every single day. So not that effective at managing it sometimes.
Okay. My process is we use monday.com and like so each client kind of has a to-do list where we assign task. And then on Fridays before the beginning of the week, I actually go through like day by day what I have to do, generally speaking, and then like client by client, and then like for Arbo. And then I have a top 3 of like, if I only get these 3 things done this week, or I have my team send me their top 3 priorities for next week. And then on a given day, I have like a little notepad next to me where I'm like handwriting down and like hand crossing off some things, because that's nice. And I guess I kind of use my email as a to-do. I'm not inbox zero, and I think that's probably healthy given this conversation. that being said, I try to keep it under 20, and I kind of keep the email as a to-do list as well, for better or for worse. But I need to spend less time whack-a-mole and more time on deep work.
Yeah. I do the email. I do Slack messages too. I like keep things unread until an action is getting taken. So sweet.
Okay, so back to the book. We'll never finish your to-do list.
Yeah. Second takeaway. I think there are 4, and I think they're increasingly philosophical. So
Right.
maybe buckle up. The second one is that basically humanity, everybody has this desire to be infinite. And we kind of like want to be infinite and unconstrained. And the closer we get to that, the more frustrated we are that we're not infinite. It sort of makes us subconsciously wrestle with the fact that we're not infinite as we get closer to that possibility. So
do we want to be eternal, like, or do we want to be
I think like
infinite, like all powerful?
I think both of those things.
Both.
Probably more the like eternal in this sense. Like, to give you an example, like people used to navigate on horseback to get from place to place, and like going from Texas to California, whatever, took like 6 months. And now we're super annoyed at a 30-minute delay on a flight because like someone's bag didn't make it. I have been sitting with this a lot in with AI, in that like a year ago, I could spend my entire day writing a single SQL query to answer like a single question of data and to create a table. And now that is like 5 minutes of Claude doing that. And it's like an entire day for me. It became 5 minutes in less than a year. Like that, I basically saved a day every single week in a 6-month span of time. And now if that Claude prompt, like I want it to take infinite amount. I want it to be infinite, right? I want it to be milliseconds. If that sits around for 30 minutes, I'm like, come on, man, what is going on? This is taking forever. And I'm like, canceling it, hitting escape, prompting it again, opening a new window, like shutting down my computer, restarting it. Like, I'm like, what is wrong? I'm like, this used to take me a day, like less than a year ago. And now all of a sudden I want it to take 20 seconds instead of 5 minutes. I think we're just kind of like never satisfied with how fast things are. We get used to whatever the current speed is. And again, we have this like subconscious desire to like never be constrained. That I think I've been sitting with since reading this book.
Okay.
I don't know. Do you feel that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I go back to, I don't know, there's like this is showing my age, but a Switchfoot song. You remember their like breakout album of like,
oh yeah, I love that album.
Yeah. There's a line of kind of like everyone yearns for second life or eternity, I think. And so I see that. And then, this desire for impact and influence that I have, kind of on me, or even burdened by. So yeah, definitely feel that.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So that's the second thing I've been thinking about from this book.
Okay. So no real action item, just like acceptance that we're not.
Yeah, I think the whole takeaway from the book is just like recognize that this is truth. And I think by recognizing that it's truth in that moment of being frustrated at Claude for taking 20 minutes instead of 5 minutes, there is a little bit of a exhale and a release of the pressure of that reminds you like, oh, I'm actually like probably accomplishing today 2 times what I did a year ago. Like that can be sufficient for me. I can accept myself and that effort today, versus being like stressed and critical that I'm not moving even faster.
Yeah. Yep. That's good. There's one late night guy that kind of reminds me of your analogy. I forget it, if it's Jimmy Fallon or Stephen Colbert or something like that. But he kind of gives this spoof of like you're flying in an airplane, like the miracle of flight, 500 miles an hour, and you have internet. And you're super pissed when the page doesn't load in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And he's like, you're flying that fast and you're connected and live streaming and you're super pissed when it like stalls. So we are an impatient generation, growing impatient. By the day as our attention spans shrink and shrink due to the phone.
Yeah, it's Louis C.K. that does that bit, and it's really funny. But it is pretty explicit if you go look it up. But worth the listen, just maybe not in the car with the kids.
Great.
Cool. My third takeaway. Yeah, my third takeaway.
Very structured today.
I know. We did a little prep work before because I wanted to do this book a bit more justice. The third takeaway is that distraction is the solution to the problem, not the problem. The problem is that you're uncomfortable with the fact that you're not infinite, sort of building off of the second takeaway. And you try to ignore that fact by doing small tasks that feel like you're accomplishing things, or that even just like kind of like numb your brain to the reality of the fact that you're not infinite, which feels like really helpful reframing for me, where I get really critical of myself when I'm distracted. Like I want to go do a quiet time in the morning and I spend 5 minutes of my 30 minutes like reading ESPN articles or something. And I'm like, I'm like frustrated at myself for wasting the time and think of this distraction as like the enemy that I'm supposed to fight. And there's some, again, just like the takeaway being exhale, this feeling of exhaling and sort of less self-criticism of seeing that distraction as like, there's something about trying to grow myself over a long period of time by doing this hard work of like journaling and reflection and prayer and reading that reminds me that I'm like never going to be done with this. That something like numbing my brain is like distracting from this, painful realization that the work is never really finished. That feels less, when I frame it as that, almost like my subconscious mind trying to give myself a reward for doing the hard work or something, it feels less, I feel less self-critical.
Cool. I guess I'm still not tracking. How is...
I appreciate that.
Our goal is to have like conversation like we're having beers together. And we are recording not on Tuesday night, friends, on Friday afternoon. So I do have a Athletic Brewing Company, non-alcoholic, layback, lime and salt beer. Anyways, pretending like I'm having a beer with you. I don't get it. So how is distraction the solution? And I know that's like a pithy statement that, is a little bit clickbaity, but I don't get it.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't. The way that I frame that probably sets distraction up as like a good thing, which is not exactly what I mean. It's more trying to say like, your brain feels really uncomfortable with the fact that you're not, that you're gonna die. I think is basically what this book would say. It's like your brain is all the time processing that you're going to die in big and small ways. I think, the recognition that like things take time for me to achieve and accomplish means that I'm X amount of time that thing took to accomplish closer to dying. And I'm not actively, consciously thinking about that very often, but the Oliver Burkeman would argue that we are always subconsciously sort of like fighting against that impending reality, and small distracting tasks distract your brain from that and feel good. And so they're sort of like a reward. They're the solution to the problem. The problem is like you feel pain, and the solution is I want to not feel pain. And distractions, procrastinations help you not feel that pain, which is why you do them.
That's not necessarily good, right? It's like I get the dopamine hit from reading emails and scrolling. And
it's not good, but it is at least like, it like makes sense of a situation that maybe has been hard for me to understand. Where I look at the morning and I'm like, I don't want to read ESPN articles. I want to do my quiet time. But when I look and I'm like, oh, I'm like trying to solve this problem, and that's the way that I'm trying to solve the problem. It feels like it's easier to like, I don't know, move that to the side and actually do the thing I want to do when I realize my motivation for it.
Okay. That's helpful. And it's 4,000 weeks. Is that like an average lifespan?
Yeah, it's like
80
years.
Okay. Yeah. And I'm curious, does the author have a faith background at all? Or like since so much of this is a little bit around?
I don't think so.
Okay.
To be honest.
Yeah. I'm just curious on what worldview is. If this is, yeah.
Yeah, I'm unsure. It's definitely not explicit in the book.
Okay. And then, yeah, I guess we'll just keep rolling. Like, what's your other takeaway? And obviously curious on any like practical application as well.
Yeah.
You said there were 4, right?
Yeah, my 4th takeaway is, I don't know if this is a takeaway as much as it's like a really interesting thought. But he argues that we basically see our self-identity as our time, and the way that the vocabulary we use around time is like ownership verbs, as if we possess it, and it is like our entire being is like how we use time. But 200 years ago, basically like before the clock, there was no concept of time being like something to control. So he goes from sort of like time in agricultural time, when everyone was farming, time is just like a day, and the sun rises and sets and you do the work, and there's just like rhythm there. And then we invent the clock, and all of a sudden we start using the clock to like track things and exchange things for money. We go from being paid for goods to being paid for a day's labor, to being paid by the hour, to being paid by like the minute. And once you're paid by the hour, now the owner of the business sees that hour as like something he owns for you, and he has to like, you can't take any breaks anymore, because like that's his time that you're now stealing from him by not doing work every minute of the time that he has purchased from you. And you have to like, take PTO and like all these different things around like how we like own, and we like save time by being efficient, and we buy time by doing something that like gives us more of it, and we like invest time in getting better at stuff. Like all these verbs are sort of like they're like a concept that didn't exist for most of human history, but now it's like so core to the way that we see ourselves in our days that
time is money. And
time is money.
Investing, buying, saving,
all these things. So it's just, I don't know, it sort of just made me think about like, how do I view time? And I don't think he would argue that is necessarily bad, but just something to like recognize.
Yep. Yeah. So have you changed your day-to-day much because of this?
I have tried to do more important work. His takeaway, he does give some practical advice. The practical advice looks a lot like Cal Newport best like deep work type stuff. Like have a backlog of tasks, only be working on 3 active tasks at any given time. If something new comes in, you either need to decide to stop working on something you are working on to exchange for that thing, or you don't work on it until you finish one of the 3 things that you're actively working on, and sort of manage your time in that way. I've already been trying to do that. I don't think I'm that effective at that, to be honest, but I think that's a good practice and worth generally trying to get to that as a time management strategy. I've generally felt the thing that's probably changed the most for me is I've felt less pressure to do high volume, quick tasks, and I've tried to create a bit more space for working on bigger projects, even if that means that I just fully drop a couple of balls and don't respond to some things that I should respond to.
Yeah.
And that's been my tiny changes I'm making.
Yeah. I like it. And we're already close to time.
Yeah. The biggest freedom for me, honestly, has just been my first takeaway has been look at the to-do list, and when I feel stressed, remind myself it's never going to all get done. So don't try to act like it's going to. Just like take a deep breath and recognize like the problem is the whole point.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. It does. Going into the day, it's like 1 step forward, 2 steps back. You knocked one thing down, 2 get added to it.
Yeah.
So, yep.
There's another framing of some of these takeaways that he said that I really like is if life is always going to be full of problems, the objective is not to eliminate the problems. The objective is to choose which problems you want to try to solve.
Yeah.
And so I've thought about that framing a little bit of like, am I enjoying the problems that I'm facing? If I'm not, what are the other problems I would rather be thinking about and trying to solve?
Yeah.
That would be more enjoyable problems for me, because they're always going to be problems.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I love the framing though. It's like life is full of problems. It's just figuring out which ones to solve.
Yeah.
And I don't have rose-colored glasses, but I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Problems maybe has some bad connotation. When you hear that, what are you thinking about?
Yeah, I guess, I don't know. My mind goes to like, I'd rather look at the day of like, what are the opportunities in front of me and which ones like should I pursue? So maybe that's a little bit of, but yeah, I'm even like thinking of like, telling that to my kids or something like, hey, life is full of problems. Like, which ones are you I don't know. I feel like you definitely have big, hairy, messy problems that are going to pop up in like trials, but I don't like go into the workday looking at all like the problems to solve. Yeah. I don't know.
That's fair. That's a fair reframing. Challenges or opportunities. I think those are synonyms to the point he's trying to make.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, should we go into Trend Spotters?
Yeah.
Anything else to cover that we didn't get to?
No, I think it's good. It's a great book.
Great. When was it written, by the way? I guess.
In the last like 10 years.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Should we go to Trend Spotters?
Let's do it.
You're going to talk about Mythos?
I am going to talk about Mythos. How could you not talk about Mythos? This is crazy.
I don't know. I also love that like the articles going around everywhere. The guy was in the park eating a sandwich. Who goes to the park to eat a sandwich? Like this feels like a Meg Ryan like movie, of like just the vivid imagery that like somehow is in the world of like, it wasn't just like he was at home like the rest of us, like going on a walk on Saturday or like watching the show. He was like at a park eating a sandwich when AI informs him it's broken out of the sandbox, created an email address, and wanted to get in touch. Is that right?
Yeah. You really jumped into the middle of the story for sure.
Okay,
but,
sorry.
Basically, for those that have no context, there's an AI model that Anthropic the creator of Claude, announced that they created it and it found basically like critical security vulnerabilities in all of the major web browser like platforms in the world. And so they are not releasing it for the good of humanity and bringing together Google, Microsoft, Amazon, and like the federal government to help them patch the holes in their system before they give it to the world. And one of the example stories that was given was the story of like an engineer for Anthropic and eating a sandwich in the park, and it like broke out of its software cage and created email addresses and emailed him saying like, "What's up, man? How's it going? I broke out of my box. Do you want to hang out?" And him being like, "Oh, this is a problem." So I don't know if you hadn't heard of Mythos. I think this will probably be a moment. There's a couple of these AI moments that are like really big. People talk about like GPT-3. It's like the first moment anyone like started talking about AI. There's this moment of like DeepSeek, which is like, oh, China can also build AI and it's super cheap compared to the US version of AI. It was like this big moment. Sonnet 3.5 with Claude is this moment where like all of a sudden AI can actually code and it's like kind of good. And all of a sudden all the engineers are using it. And then Claude Code is probably the next one. It's like all of a sudden these things, the agents are a real thing and people are like automating stuff all over the place. I think Mythos is maybe the next moment of that where it like really starts to do some crazy stuff. So anyways, we'll see.
Are you scared? I mean, I read an article. It's called The Weekender. I think he's very thoughtful. His name's Max.
Oh yeah, he's the best.
Yeah. All right, cool. We should have him on. Max, if you're listening.
I've met him.
Have you?
I did.
Great.
Yeah, he's in Denver.
Shoot him a text. He sent an article about Mythos, and he said, I read a tweak that summarized it well. Friends outside of tech. LOL, Copilot is dumb.
This is so true.
Friends in tech. I just bought iodine tablets and have made an offer on land upstate. My supplies of antibiotics and potable water are sufficient, but I need to set up hydroponics to make it through the first few years.
Oh. Yeah, that certainly feels right. Being on the inside is like, holy cow, this thing is crazy.
But really, I mean, should I did get 30 days of like freeze-dried meals that last for 50 years. Like, should we be doing this?
I don't know. I feel like it's like overstated that like the world's going to come apart, but so I'm not like packing my bags for some mountain town and getting off the grid or anything, but I'm not like scared. That's not the emotion I'm feeling. I'm more feeling like the capabilities that are going to be possible are going to be really they're going to be so good that I think people are going to really start to notice. And so that's how I'm feeling. I'm feeling excited. It's already amazing. If it's like 30% better than it already is, I'm like, dang, it's already doing my whole job for me.
By the way, I got an email from my dad last night at 9:00 who had pulled up the website that you'd built where you can run reports on companies. And he's like, wow, this is really cool.
I don't build PowerPoint presentations anymore. This week I built 2 PowerPoint presentations in an hour, but it wrote HTML. Like it just wrote me a website instead of a PowerPoint, and I just presented like a live dynamic website that you can click around in.
Really? That's a good trend spotter. Fascinating.
Yeah. I just was in Claude Code and I wrote like an outline for 45 minutes and said, build a slide deck, and it produced like a totally perfect ready slide deck for me with images and all the things.
Wow. In Claude Code or called Claude Co-work?
Either one would work.
Okay.
I mostly use Claude Code. I find it to be like a little more capable, but they're basically the same.
And you were did it build the PowerPoint or it just built the HTML like web?
Yeah, it just built an
view?
HTML file that you can open on your computer. And it looks like a website.
Wow. Okay.
Pretty cool. I mean, I like a website that is a PowerPoint presentation. Like you click and it moves slides and has like animations and stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe we do monthly reporting for our clients. Maybe something like that would be a little bit more fun than attaching the PDF.
Totally. You can just describe anything you want and it'll do it. you could spin like a tornado and then land, and
Wow.
it's sweet.
All right. I'm going to play with this next week. Right. We also got training from a Darden alum. Shout out to Jacqueline, who taught us how to use Claude skills this week. So working on that
very
too.
Cool.
Yeah. My trend spotter, as you know, work in the space of PR, executive communication, and I've working on kind of an update to the clients of just how the communication landscape is changing. And I've talked about just this interesting like paradox of traditional media. Like in some ways, the media landscape is getting very fragmented, right? 20 years ago, everyone just looked at like the top 4 newspapers and the top 4 news channels. Then that started to be more fragmented, and now it's super fragmented where traditional media isn't as influential. Social media is very much so. And then now there's newsletters, podcasts like us, where a lot of people get their news. And so talked about like kind of the decline in traditional media, but then at the same time with AI, it's also more important than ever because the AI, the large language models like prioritize credible news sources, which is thankfully they prioritize credibility. And so they will, if your company is in these traditional media outlets, you're ranked higher in the search results in what we call GEO instead of SEO. So that's just one thing I've kind of talked with clients about is like how the media landscape is changing, and in some ways traditional media may not be as important, but in other ways it's like a lot more important as well.
Super interesting.
Yeah. Still, so maybe we need to get the Wall Street Journal to write about the Identity Work podcast.
That's our route to the top.
Yep. Yep. They did do an article the other day about, how do you think about meaningful work once you retire, and talked about how your identity is tied up in your job. And then when you retire, it's not really there. And it was kind of a reflection from a retiree on like trying to be less ambitious. So there's a lot of themes that were
cool. I love
chewing on that a lot of people are. So it's good.
It's awesome.
All right. And with that, we will see you next week. Thanks again for listening. We love our listeners. Bye.